Great to see you. Listen, really excited to have this show. I'm going to jump right into it because we're talking about something that's near and dear to my heart, and it is the sequence from reaching out to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, a new connection, and the process for following through every step of the way. And so let's get ready and jump in. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. This is my winning formula for connecting on LinkedIn to get somebody on a Zoom call and then beyond. What do you do? So I've got some slides here just so you can stay focused. What I want to cover here is targeting your audience, which is very important, the connection message, some thoughts about that message, getting the Zoom, how to actually get the Zoom call, because that's what you want to do. And then once you have the Zoom call, as you go through the video agenda, because I'm talking about mobile video on your LinkedIn app, then what's the Zoom agenda? What's your call to action? And then I'm going to mention the touch point ecosystem, which is all about nurturing people once they come into your funnel. So, okay, obviously, before you start reaching out to people on LinkedIn, you want to make sure to target your audience. You know, I think in the early days of LinkedIn, people were just connecting left, right, and center, and they weren't really putting a lot of thought into who to connect with. Times have changed. You really got to put a lot of effort and focus into your target audience. Who are these people? What are their titles? What geography do they live in? And what's their experience? You know, a level of tenure at the company. Who are they? And you want to get as niche as you can with your target audience, because the more you can get niche, the more you can tailor the outreach messaging to fit your target audience, because you don't ever want anybody to get the feeling that you're spamming and you haven't put thought into this, you haven't looked at their profile. We all know that's a deal killer. And so you want to think about your target audience. And for those of you who use Sales Navigator, highly recommend it. It's a great tool. And it is a great way to filter for your target audience. There's about 32 filter points on Sales Navigator, and LinkedIn just updated it recently, the interface of it. And the filter points are pretty good. You can get pretty nichey. And if you really know how to use Sales Navigator and use the exclusions for certain titles maybe you don't want to see, you can really get a good target audience. And you can save that list. So targeting, very, very important to figure out who your audience is. And also, once you target and you know the people, then you know the language, and you start to put yourself in the shoes of your audience, and you can develop language around them. What do they care about? What are the obstacles, challenges, opportunities that your audience is facing? Because you're going to build this in to your language. Okay, so we're talking about your initial connection request here. I'm a big proponent of building up a very big community on LinkedIn for several important reasons. One is you always want to make a lot of noise, whatever you're doing. It's like my mom used to say when I was a kid, be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. The larger community you have, and the more noise you can make and the more eyeballs you're going to get on your stuff, and the right people are going to find you. So the idea is to really have an identifiable and repeatable process to reach out and connect with people. And you got to get that down. There's great tools that help you to take the tasks off your plate, and you can automate and scale these things, your outreach and the building of your community. Plus, you know, the bigger community you have, the more people you can start to direct message them, the more people are going to see your content. You can invite them to the events that you're going to put on, which is a whole nother topic, is the LinkedIn event feature and LinkedIn Live. Microsoft and LinkedIn have just put a massive microscope on those tools, and we all have them, and you got to be using those. But let's talk about this connection request sequence. So first, your connection request is going out. And I put here that it is a battle here. It's a battle because you've got to think about this process of reaching out, connecting, getting on a Zoom and all the way through as a war. It just is a war. It's also your sales funnel, where you're making people aware of you and what you do, then generating interest and generating a call to action and so forth through the sales funnel. But it is a war. And within that war, there are many battles. And this particular battle is about getting somebody to connect with you. You just want them at this point to connect. You're not trying to do anything else but get them to connect. That's the battle. And so, how do you get somebody to connect? First of all, you've targeted, so you know who they are, you know what challenges they have, what they're dealing with, you know where they are geographically, and etc. So you target. Now you've got to make this connection message relevant. Okay, so it's got to be relevant where you mention their location, so it proves to them that you've actually looked at their profile. You mentioned their profession. If you've gotten nichey and you're targeting your message to that niche, you can tailor the messaging as I mentioned. And so you make it relevant. And you know, maybe you have partnerships with vice presidents in the manufacturing industry, and you mentioned that in your opening sequence. And so you're just making it relevant. Add something that ties into what they do is always a good way to go. And you never want to sell. Maybe this goes without saying, but I think it does because I get to this day massive amounts of first outreach pitches. I can't believe people are doing this. It just is amazing to me because people aren't going to buy from you unless they know, like, and trust you. And so many people are doing it wrong. So you just can't ever come across like you're pitching something. Even if you in your mind you say, well, eventually I'm going to get to introducing my services, you start having that in your messaging, first couple messages, people sniff it out. It's good night, Irene. You're done. People are just going to put up a wall. So your connection request has got to be more personable, relevant, uh, no selling, and think of it as you just want to get them to connect with you. And when I'm talking to people I'm working with about the connection request, it's about copywriting, and there's a science behind that connection message. We all know there's a character limit. You can't, nor would you want to type up a bunch of stuff in there. So it's got to be short to the point, but really, really strategic. So now you reach out, the person connects. Now what do you do? Okay, now what you want to do is you want to get them on a Zoom call, and you don't want to get them on a phone call. You every single time want to go for the Zoom video. Why? Because anytime you can use video to interact with clients or prospects, you're giving yourself a better chance to convert to whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. Having somebody attend your event, get on a Zoom call for the first time, certainly to buy your product or service, you want that human interaction. And so it's just people, when they see the video from you, they just hear your voice. They see that you have a decent haircut, you're articulate, and it just starts to bond them to you. They feel like they start to get to know you as a human being. And ultimately, we all know that people want to interact with other people they feel like they like and that their personality resonates with them. And so the likability factor is huge. And so how do you get somebody on a Zoom after they connect? This is a critical juncture in the process of interacting with a new person. And so, not that long ago, LinkedIn rolled out the ability for all of us to send a video to first level connections using your mobile LinkedIn video app. So if you don't have LinkedIn loaded onto your mobile phone, get it loaded onto your mobile phone. And it's a great app. And Sales Navigator too, by the way, it's a separate app, but get that. But let's talk about LinkedIn here, because what you're going to do is somebody connects, you want to get them on a Zoom, you're going to send a LinkedIn mobile video. You're not ever going to type a message back again. And it's going to give you a better chance to convert. And when LinkedIn rolled this out, game changer for my conversions on getting people onto a phone call and onto a Zoom call. And so what you do is new connection, first level connection. You can only send a mobile video to first level connections. You go to your mobile app, got my cell phone here on my desk, and you do a search, pull up the person. There they are, send them a message. And when you do that, you click on the message on the mobile phone, you'll see a plus sign, click the plus sign, drop down menu, and there's where you can send a video. And that video shows up in their LinkedIn messaging, and your face is there with a play button on it. Human nature takes over. They are going to watch the video. There just is no chance they're not going to. They're going to see it. It's going to catch their attention, because most people today don't even know they have this feature. And those who do have it aren't using it. It's crazy to me, because these are the tools that make a difference. And so you go and you leave this video, and and you have LinkedIn gives you 2 minutes. That's the length of time to leave this video. My messages are usually about 45 seconds. I don't ever go 2 minutes. I don't need to. And here is the agenda for this mobile video. Okay, they connected. Obviously, look at their profile. Something's going to stand out. People are putting everything on their profile today, and you might even know who their family is. But look at their profile and take a few minutes to do that, of course. Now you're going to send a video. So you go to your mobile phone, you hold the video up, obviously make sure the camera's pointing at you, and doesn't matter where you are. You could be at your desk, you could be in your car. I'm not so concerned about having this professional video message. This is, you're busy, you're doing stuff, you're following up, you're a busy professional, you're sending a video. Who cares where it's at? And you hold it up and you record your message. And this takes about 45 seconds to a minute. And here's the agenda for this mobile video. You want to humanize the interaction. And by that I mean, look at the profile. Let's say they are working in the foundation for women in leadership. That's one of their passion items. They're doing that. So you include that in your message, and you start off by clicking record, and you'll say, thank them. Hey, thank you for connecting. Really appreciate it. Your profile is very interesting. Now you humanize it. I love that you're working with that foundation for women in leadership. I'm raising 3 girls myself and a boy. True story. And so those things always stand out to me. This has really happened to me. I interact with somebody this way, and boom, done. I've humanized that interaction. What I've accomplished there is so much in that one statement. Number one, they know I looked at their profile and I'm not just a spammer, because I mentioned something that you got to read in their profile. And so that's a big deal. Number two, they know I'm a family guy. I've got 4 kids, and that humanizes the interaction even more. I become now more approachable. I'm a dad, and so I work that in there, and I think it's important for people to know that, because I'm interested in other people who have families, and it tells you a lot about them, and I'm curious about that. So I work that in, and just in a matter of a few seconds. I mean, that statement takes me, 4 seconds. And so I've humanized it. Now I want to go to relevancy. And by that I mean, why are you reaching out? And this is where you say something like, let's say it's VP in manufacturing, say, hey, I've made my human statement, and then I say, and reason I'd love to get on a call with you is because I have some great partnerships and really doing some interesting things with VPs in the manufacturing sector in your industry. And I know you and I would have a valuable discussion. And so you mentioned the relevancy. You're working with people in their position, in their industry. That's why you're reaching out. And again, you're not going to go into some, diatribe about what you're doing and all this stuff. That's not what this is about. You just want to get them to book a Zoom call. Remember, this is the next battle in the war. And so you now make it relevant. Now what you do is a sign off with a call to action to get on the Zoom. And you can't copy and paste, excuse me, a link into this video. So what you do is, I love Calendly. That's an online calendar app. Love it. Highly recommend you look into it if you don't have an online calendar app. It's great. Customize it, but they have a mobile app. So I have that downloaded on my phone, and you can pull up your events, click on the link, and save it. Now I can just copy it because let's say I'm sending out 10 of these videos. I just paste, 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 but I have it there. So now what I say as my call to action is, I'd love to get on a Zoom, a meaningful call. I'll include my calendar link below. You can click on it to find a time. And I have a sign off later. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I know you're busy. Boom, done. 45 seconds to a minute. I do that. Send the video. Sends out. Right after the video, I won't say anything. I'll just paste my calendar link to the Zoom 30 minute 30-minute Zoom session call right below that. And I send it. It looks like one message. When they get it, your face, the message right below it is your calendar link. And this is the agenda that you want to follow. And what you will see then, if you do this right, is meetings popping up on your calendar. Bing, 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 bing. If I go through 10 of these and do them, I just see, really within the first hour, bing, 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 meetings pop up, winning the battle. Okay, next. Now you have a Zoom call. Again, the next step, what do you do here on the Zoom call? And this is really important. It's 30 minutes, as I mentioned, not 15. I can't stand when we have people say 15-minute. What in God's name can you talk about in 15 minutes? I mean, just by the time I get done building some rapport and asking a few questions, 10 minutes have gone by. So don't ever do 15 minutes. That's an insult to people in my mind. You're interested in talking, developing a deeper relationship in 15 minutes. If we're serious about this, 30 is perfect. And if you want to go longer, you can, but 30 is fine. So you do 30, and then what you want to, first of all, on the Zoom call agenda, you're not selling here at this juncture either. Not direct selling. You are going to talk about your business, but you're not pitching. Don't pitch here. This is not the time to pitch. You want to be curious. And so you've got to be curious about them, and you want to ask probing questions about their business. Hey, tell me what you're doing, and ask them and ask follow-on questions. The art of conversation is dead. People don't talk, with each other. They talk at each other today. That's just the case. I grew up in massive, huge family. Mom's the oldest of 14, dad's the oldest of 12. I got 75 first cousins. I grew up around a kitchen table with my relatives drinking coffee, talking about family history, the art of talking and listening. And so be curious. Somebody, you say, hey, how did you get started? Oh, I have this wild story. I started somewhere. Ask them a question about it. So we get that. Get into it. And understand their business. And so people love talking about their business. So you do that, and then, just naturally it's going to flow into what you do, of course. And, whether you bring it up or they say, hey, tell me about you. I've been doing all the talking, which happens a lot with me because I start off saying, hey, tell me about your business. And I'll tell you all about mine, but I love to, I see your profile here. I see you started out, serving in the military. I'll get it going. And they'll talk and I'll ask, and people love it. And what happens every time is say, well, God, well, I've been talking. How about you? Now, boom, I go into my discussion and have the discussion about what you do very tight. You're not pitching. You said, hey, this is how I help people. This is what I do. This is what I'm passionate about. Here's how I got started. And you have that discussion. Now, really, really important call to action. This is where I see the ball drop a lot. People get on these calls and they don't have any next step set up. They have a call and they end the call and there's no follow on. And it doesn't matter what your end game is. Maybe you have a course that you want to introduce to somebody at some point. You're really focused on a course, a paid course that you put together, or your service or a product or whatever it is you're doing, or you know, you're a Vistage chair, you're building a group and you want to talk about that, is that will all come up, but you're not pitching that and asking them to buy anything or join anything at this point. But you do need a call to action. You can't hang up with nothing happening after this. And this is where you got to think out of the box and be very strategic. Here's my process that I love, and I just had the Zoom this morning. So when I'm working with people, and what I encourage everyone to do, whether I'm working with them or not, is you're going to have a show or a podcast where you are going to feature other people. A show, a live LinkedIn show using the LinkedIn events feature. This is part of the foundational tools I teach. You got to have this going on as part of the foundational tools. There's online events where you're educating, nurturing, teaching, and uh, and part of that process is you have other entrepreneurs, business owners, your prospects, whoever they are, you feature them in your show and you interview them, and it's a Zoom video and you're editing it, et cetera, et cetera. Big discussion there. But so that is a call to action I use quite a bit. As I say, if I have this great call and I like somebody and they're a good person I want to continue to have the discussion with, I will say, hey, uh, I, I'd love to have you on my show. And it's a Zoom. It's not live. I'm going to record it, but I'm going to then make it live. It's a great event, good exposure for you, and it's all about you. It's going to be 20 minutes to talk about your business. Everyone will say yes, 100% of the time. People say yes because they love talking about their business, and there's something in it for them. And you say, hey, what's in it for me is you're interesting. It shows that I'm exposed to interesting people, and I'm doing great things. And so selfishly, that's why I want to have you on. True statement. And so people say yes. So now you're hanging up. You schedule it right there on that call. Now you have a reason. You're going to follow up again. You've qualified them. They're a great person to have in your funnel, and now you're going to have them on your show. So you're going to talk even more about their business, and it's not live. You're going to Zoom it, record it, and then you're going to distribute that as a video and do that right. But now the point is, uh, they're going to learn more about you, and you're going to be talking, and you're going to have more follow up after that. If you're giving them links, to the show, your Spotify. Here's how to find it on Spotify and so forth. You're going to follow up again and give them that. So now you're giving value to them, doing something very cool. It pulls them in, creates the know, like, and trust. It is a great follow-up tool, and um, it works every time. And now you got them on the show, and between the time you book them in your show, you can continue that value. You could say, hey, just as a follow-up, I want to send you that course. You asked me what I did on that Zoom call. I told you, I'm focused on a course. Hey, here it is. Whatever it is. I mean, now you can start introducing more concrete examples and where you're leading them to generate some interest. And during your Zoom, you've asked pointed questions, knowing what your offer is. And so you're asking questions related to your offer in your mind. You're connecting, Is this a good opportunity? I mean, all this is strategic. So now, uh, what you're doing is you've got them coming onto your show, and now after that Zoom call, you're getting them tied into your touch point ecosystem. And by this, I mean, you're going to talk to them again. You're going to introduce your services at this point. You're on the interview, and this is where you start to really unfold what you do, see where the interest is, and you know start inching towards asking about their interest in what you're doing, and depending on your business, if you're like, let's say a Vistage chair, I mentioned that I work with a lot of Vistage chairs. Then it could be, hey, as a follow-on, let me invite you to one of the meetings I'm putting on. Who knows what? You got to get strategic. But my point is, they're in. Now you get them in your touch point ecosystem, because you got to keep nurturing people on and on and on. 90% of the people that come into your funnel awareness, they know what you do. You talk to them. They're not going to be clients right away. You're not going to close them right away. That's true for the best marketing people on the planet. So you got to nurture them. How do you nurture? You can't not nurture them, call them back 90 days later and pitch them again, or you can't just pitch them over and over and over. You got to nurture people and continue to build trust and pull them in. And so this involves email. Email nurture is great. This is part of your touch point ecosystem, uh, where you're gathering emails, you're nurturing along the way in very strategic ways. You've got, I call it DM nurture, direct message nurture, where the way we run it is we have a process for your first level connections to nurture them in automated and scaled ways, where you're delivering value to people you connect with on LinkedIn. I mean, you got potentially thousands of connections on LinkedIn. Uh, what are you doing with them? Are you nurturing them? They're in your network. Are you never talking to them? Are you never teaching them? Are you providing value? How are you nurturing your connections? In real life, it's like you met them, you shook their hand, you had a discussion at a networking event, and you never talk to them again. They're going to forget about you in a second. So you got to nurture, and there's a process for direct message, sending direct messages, nurturing with cool things you have going on. LinkedIn group, I like groups. It's sort of, LinkedIn keeps trying to play around with groups, but done the right way, you can have a group, invite specific people to the group, and post specific content to the group where they'll get notified on stuff you're doing. So hot prospects can go into LinkedIn group, and I look at it less as where I've got, I'm sitting there managing the group all day long and trying to get people to engage. That's an endeavor in and of itself, but if you use a tool in strategic ways, it can be a great tool, LinkedIn group. And then your show. You're doing a monthly show, as I mentioned, and people are getting invited to that through the LinkedIn event feature. So these are things, more in-depth discussion, but their touch point ecosystem. And what I'll say is, you heard me mention the 5 foundational tools. These are the tools. So what I've been talking about, sales lead generation campaigns, connection requests, getting on a Zoom, that's this piece right here. And there's a whole process there. And that's the selling, right? Because you're reaching out, asking somebody to do something. This is the sell, the short game. But you got to have the long game of marketing. You can't not market your business, and marketing supports the selling, and they go together. You can't have one without the other. So I'm all about video here. And what I'll say is, you got to incorporate video in at some level into the growth and nurture your business. If you don't have it, you're not in the game, because video is being demanded by your clients and prospects. All the stats bear it out. There is no gray area. It is the reality. They want video. So you got to deliver it. And it doesn't have to be Hollywood level, time sucking stuff. There's a strategy that works, video. And branding, another component. Got to get the personal brand right. It's your calling card. People are judging you. You're being scored on LinkedIn, your social selling index. There's a whole thing going on there with your brand. If you're not doing it right, you are irrelevant. And it's a seedling that grows the rest of your marketing. So you got to have that going on. The nurture vlog, this is your email I mentioned, email going out. It's a vlog video. And then your build authority with your virtual event. This is your authority event, engage, build authority. These are the 5 tools. Foundation, got to have these in place. And I'll say this, if you want to check out a deeper dive on those tools as we're talking about this stuff, text Giant Help to that phone number. You'll be able to see my online course I put together, and I just put my heart and soul into this thing. Check it out, and you can go there and see what it's all about. And it's very interesting. And I have some giveaways on there, but I just, really through demand from people out there that I talked to, they said, can I get a deep dive on these 5 elements? And so, this is what I did. I put this together. So check that out. And of course, I always love showing my team because these are the people behind the scenes that really make it happen. And we've got a great people. And so, as always, thank you for being here, and stay tuned because I do this every Tuesday, 9 a.m. California time, for the media company. I've got another show I do on Thursdays for another business I'm building out. You can check that out too, Thursdays at 9 a.m. But love to have you here, and we'll see you next time.